Hi, it's Mr. Songer with you, and this is the video on phrasing. And this is a very underrated component of music that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should in middle school. And so I want to take a few minutes to talk about what phrasing is, how to read it in your music, how to do it, and how to think about it. And you'll be amazed at how much more musical and how much better you will sound when you phrase when you play. First of all, so what is phrasing? Well, phrasing is kind of like the musical version of a sentence. When you read something, you read words that are formed together in sentences. If we didn't have sentences, you'd have one big, what we call run-on sentence, where there's no punctuation, or at least no periods, and the sentence never comes to an end. And so you don't know when to take a breath. Talking's kind of the same way. If I were to say, I went outside and then I saw that it was raining, so I went back inside and got my umbrella so that I could stay dry. That is proper phrasing. It makes sense. But if I said, I went outside and then I saw it was raining, so I went inside and then I got my umbrella, that's a big run on sentence. And if it kept going on, you'd need to take a breath eventually, and it just wouldn't make sense to just stick a breath anywhere in there that didn't make sense. Here's another version of taking a breath at weird places. I went outside and then I saw it was raining, so I went inside and got my umbrella. That doesn't make sense. But, I'd be, you'd be amazed at how many times that when you're playing your instrument, that's how you sound. I even hear some people say this: I went outside and then I noticed it was raining. And that's how some of you play. Some of you will play a song like, where you take a breath before every note. And when you hear that, it doesn't make musical sense. So I think you get an idea of what phrasing is now. It's where we decide to take that breath. And just one note for the percussion. Percussion, you can phrase too. When you play your music, you have to think in terms of those musical sentences, all right? So in other words, if you have two measures and then you have a rest, those two measures of notes are probably all together in some kind of musical sentence. And so when you play it, think in your head what that melody sounds like and play it with some musical, sense, and play it, thinking, okay, these notes all go together, okay? If you're just like B flat, okay, now G, now C, now A, it's not going to sound very good. You have to think of it in terms of that melody, like the melody I was just playing on trumpet. It sounds a lot better if I just think of it in terms of a phrase. All right, let's take out your accent and achievement book and open up to page 26. And if you're playing percussion, I guess I'd probably do bell kit for this, all right? So you can play along with me. We're going to look at number 100. And on number 100, you will notice that there are breath marks. And breath marks tell you where to take the breath. A breath mark is an apostrophe or a comma, however you want to think about it. So as you look at number 100, you'll notice that there's a breath mark in the middle of the fourth measure. There is another breath mark in the middle of the fourth measure of the second line. Okay? Those are the only two breath marks in the song. Well, obviously you're going to take a breath in those spots, or you should. You should try. And you're going to take a breath at the beginning of the song when you first start. There's sometimes breath marks and sometimes not. Like, there should be another breath in this song, and it should be at the end of the first line. How do I know that? Well, a lot of times, if you have a long note, like in this case a dotted half note, you're going to take a breath after that. It makes sense, okay? You can sneak a breath in there and not cut that note off really short. You're probably not going to sneak a breath between two eighth notes. That's very hard to do because they're faster, all right? So then you might be saying, well, how am I going to get through this whole song on only, these two breath marks, the one at the end of the first line and the one at the beginning? That's only 4 breaths to play this whole big 2-line song. It's really not that bad, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you take big breaths and you're planning ahead. And then when you play, don't let all that air go on the first 2 or 3 notes. You have to be conservative, all right? So let's play number 100 together, and let's try to only take breaths in those spots that we just heard about. Here we go. 1, ready. That's where you're taking your phrasing and your breathing, and you're doing it in something we call 4-measure phrasing. Basically, there was a breath every 4 measures, and that's very common to take a breath after every 4 measures. If it was a really slow song, we might go every 2 measures between breaths. And if it was really fast, or maybe it was in 2/4 time, where there's only 2 beats in a measure, you might go as many as 8 bars. 2, 4, and 8 measures are a common number to go between breaths. So if you have a song like, let's take number 101, there's no breath marks in here. I would probably take a breath after every 4 measures. What gives it away? Well, it's a faster song, um, but it's not like extremely fast, and it's in 4/4. So I'm probably not going to try to go 8 measures. And after every 4 measures, there's a half note, a longer note. I'm going to take a breath after that half note. So let's try this together. We're going to breathe after every 4 measures. Here we go. 101. 1, 2, 3. All right, so hopefully you were able to do that. So there you go. That's how to do phrasing. That's what it is. And hopefully when you play your music from now on, you will think about where to take those breaths, think about phrasing, and therefore you'll play with more musicality and sound a lot better.